It's working. All right. What's up, Facebook? What's up, YouTube? Happy Sunday. It's Serene coming to you live once again from my Sweet Pea and Me. And as you can probably see and guess, I am not in my regular place of broadcasting. Um, Happy Easter. And the reason why I am not in my regular place is because today I'm hanging out with my in-laws and we are upstate, and my husband's family is all here, and I have to sneak away to a quiet place to be able to broadcast. So you can see, like, so I'm literally in the guest room, and I have to make it work. I'm sitting on the floor in our guest room because there's so much other things going on around me that I cannot do it any other way. This is how we got to do it, to stay faithful and true to my 6 o'clock broadcast, to my time, to stay consistent. Got to do what I got to do, and so here I am. With that said, I am definitely not going to take long with this broadcast today because if you ever get together with all of your family members, and I hope you do, um, you know that when there are kids around, they are running all around. So to be able to have them stay quiet, or at least not in this vicinity while I'm doing this, I practically have to bribe them or threaten them. More like bribe them, but just to not. And so they are running all around. And so I told them I cannot take too long to do this because they're playing hide and seek and they need this room. So I won't be, I won't take up too much time. But either way, let's get into the topic. So today's topic is, the title is a theme and a study are two different things. This is especially for my early childhood educators out here, my fellow early childhood people, and I guess teachers in general. So no matter what age you teach, I guess this is something that can be useful or helpful. Um, the topic itself was came to me because when I was the director of a school, one of the things that often came up in conversation was working on their curriculum. I was constantly working on the curriculum, especially when I was in the role of being the education director, which is different from the director or the executive director. So the education director deals a lot with the curriculum. And when I first even started teaching, when, like 20 years back, when I first started teaching, we oftentimes use the word themes. So every month there was a different theme, or every week there was a different theme, and the theme really helped guide whatever the activities, the topics, the conversation was going to be about for that week or for that month, whatever, time period that the theme was designated for. As I continued to do this, uh, I started to encounter the title of studies, and so here in New York we have the Department of Education's units of studies, and I've heard other things be referred to as studies prior to even seeing the Department of Education's curriculum. And the conversation that used to come up a lot from my teachers were, what's the difference? We can still call it a theme. Yes, you definitely can still call it a theme, but there's a reason why I actually like to steer my teachers and many educators away from calling it a theme. One of the things that happened that happens, that I hear a lot of educators oftentimes say, is that when they're on a theme or they're on a particular topic, that after a month's time, they're ready to switch the topic, or after 3 weeks time, they're ready to switch the topic and go into another theme or topic. And I've heard teachers say to me, yeah, my kids are over it, they're done with that, it's time to move on to the next thing. And I used to tell them all, stretch it out, like work on it a little bit more. I can't imagine that you talked about all that there was either available to talk about, or all that there was to talk about or is to talk about that given topic. Or I can't imagine that you really explored into the depths of what the children were interested in what the children were interested in as it pertains to that particular topic. And they used to tell me, no, like, I'm over it, they're over it. And I'll give you an example. I've had teachers talk about transportation, right? That's a big thing that happens in the early childhood world in the classroom, that the children start to talk about transportation, or teachers talk about it. And after the teachers do maybe 3 weeks of going outside, looking at the different types of transportation that there is, doing an activity where they create like a little truck, or use shapes to create a car, or drive across paint with their wheels, and make like tire track art all across the paper with their toys. Teachers are like, we did everything that's transportation. We're done. And I'm just, I wonder if, this is what I often bring up to my teachers, have you gone on an actual vehicle with your class? Like, have you asked for someone to bring their car or their vehicle or truck, like a parent, like have a parent bring their vehicle to the school, park it outside, children take a little bit one at a time, going inside, looking at the parts of the vehicle, talking about the names of the parts, talking about what those parts do. How does the steering wheel actually make the vehicle go the way that you would like it to go? That, and usually I'm met with, no, we haven't done that. Well, then you did not explore transportation, right? You did a theme, and you did little cute little activities, and little cute little you hung art on the wall, and you're like, yay, we did transportation, but you didn't study it, right? And so I like to make the distinction very clear that a study, to me, is like going to the library, right? You study at a library. And when you study at a library, there are many different things you can look at, and you can open a book and you can delve really deeply, right? You can delve very deep into a specific topic. Whereas a theme, to me, is like going to a party, right? And there's a big difference between going to a library and going to a party. So the reason I say a theme is like a party is because when you go to a party, and I'm thinking of children's parties, obviously, in particular, when you go to a children's party and the child party is about transportation, it's a theme that's a truck, a cars. Let's think about cars, like, right? So cars, it's a cars theme. You get the invitation, you're like, oh, this is a cars party, and you go there, and there might be a race car tablecloth, and there might be cups that have race cars on it, and there might be, pin the horn on the car, or you know what I mean, something that's theme related to the car, that the children just do these, activities that really surround around that theme. Just because you go to a theme party does not mean that you walk out of the party knowing all that you would like to know about cars. You just saw those things, you were exposed to those things, but it doesn't mean that your depth of knowledge goes any deeper when you walk out of that party than what it was when you walked into that party. You might learn about a character here or there if it's like based on a movie where you're like, oh, what's that character's name that's on my cup? Sure. But you don't really learn all you need to know about it. Now, if you open the book at a library about cars, you're going to see so much more. You're going to learn so much more. You're going to be exposed to so much more. There are going to be so much more questions that either pop up, or questions that get answered that you didn't even know that you had. And so to me, that's the difference between a theme and a study. And so when we are in the classroom you know, or when you were in the classroom. I haven't been in the classroom for a while, but when we're in the classroom, I want our educators, and even I'm talking about early childhood educators, right? Because that's the difference between being a professional and just, you know, doing this for fun and to pass the time away. As a professional educator, your job is to go that deep, right? Go explore those depths of a topic more than just the surface level. Um, and what makes a theme different from a study to me is the range of research and preparation that one does in order to present the information or to explore the information with their students. So, I was in a classroom recently. I visited a classroom, and oh my goodness, a student asked a question. This was an early childhood classroom. A student asked a question, and oh my gosh, it's escaping me right now. But the teacher said, I'm not really sure. Let me look that up. And she stepped to the side and she looked up the topic. And it's really escaping me what the topic is right now. But the one thing that it is really important for all educators, early childhood and up, to know and to remember is that just because you're educators, you're not expected to know all of the things that your students present to you, all the questions that students present to you. However, what you are charged with doing and being responsible for is finding out that information so that you can answer those questions. And that happens even with young children. So I was telling someone recently that my daughter, she asked me, we we were she's eating, she's 4 years old, right? And she said to me, Mom, if you said that food helps us to grow, but you also said that when we use the bathroom, right, that we poop out our food, how is the food helping us to grow? Because we're flushing it, right? She's 4. And if she's asking me this question, right, I consider her to be smart. You know, she's a bright kid, and she definitely is an inquisitive kid. 4-year-olds are inquisitive. This is what they do. They're constantly trying to make sense of the world, and so you almost insult their intelligence when you say, "Hey, we're gonna study. You know, we're gonna talk about food in the classroom, right, as a theme," and you just have them cut out pictures of food and put them on plates, like paper plates, and you know, then you make them have them make a placemat, and then you ask them a question, what's your favorite food? And then you write down their answers. And then you're like, we explored everything we needed to explore about food. No, you didn't. No, you didn't, right? You didn't explore what foods give what nutrients. You didn't explore how food moves through your digestive tract and out the other way, right? You didn't explore where you get those different foods from. Maybe walk to different markets in your neighborhood to see what kinds of foods are sold in different places. Um, did you explore how the different foods are grown? Some foods are grown, some are not grown, right? Some foods come from animals, some foods come from gardens or, you know, farms. Um, these are the things that when you, as an educator, decide that you want to explore food, go deep into it. Study food. Don't just party theme it, right? Don't just hang pieces of you know, berries and strawberries around your room and have the children color uh, Xerox copies of apples and say we explored apples and fruit, and you never bought an apple in to actually taste it, right? We have to go deeper into these explorations so that we can deepen the children's level of knowledge with it. Um, and then I'll just, you know, give you an example of a theme being explored and a that same topic of with a study. So in the Department of Education right now, many of the schools who are using the units of studies, they are doing water, water as the topic, and water. I've seen people do it as a theme, and with water, I've seen them put them in this when they theme it out, right? When they theme it out, they'll do the sensory table and they'll fill it with water and they'll put water in spray bottles and have the children spray it on paper. They might add a little watercolor to it. They might paint with watercolors. They might make ice cubes and put food coloring in it and have the children paint across paper with it. So when you have a lot of themes, what I'm seeing rule of thumb usually is if most of your theme studies are based in art, then you're really just doing something for the visual of the theme and not for the exploration of the theme. And so check yourself, right? For all my fellow educators out there, check yourself, and if your lesson plans are filled with arts and crafts that focus on a certain topic, chances are you are just being very theme, you're looking at it very surface level, and there's not much depth to it, right? But if you are really delving into the theme, right, or delving into the topic of water, you might pose a question at the beginning, right? Because a question now will open the children's mind to start to think about something that they may have been thinking or may not have been thinking. So the question of how do we use water? Where does water come from? Those are questions that will make children think. It'll cause them to think, water comes from my bathroom sink. Oh, does it? Right? A great educator will then say, and before it was in your sink, where did it come from? And a really great educator might not even know the answer to that, but because they're going to pose the question, they may start to do their research so that when that question comes up by a child, or when they're led to ask children that question, they have an idea of the answer themselves, right? Then you might walk around the school building and start looking at pipes, right? Piping systems, and have the children look at piping systems underneath their sinks and in their own homes, to really get them thinking. Then you may build a piping system, right? This is where your art can come in, but this is where your science can come in, and even your math can come in with building a piping system. I've seen some beautiful piping systems built by children and their teachers using water bottles so that they're, so that you can see through them. They're transparent and you could see the water move through them as they've constructed them together and then poured water down them to really see how that water flows and moves. But even then, we still haven't done like an art project where there's a piece of paper and someone's sitting down just doing something with water. Then you might want to talk about how water helps our body and hydration, right? Vocabulary, new vocabulary gets brought in when you really do a study. Hydration, dehydration. What does that mean? What does it mean for a plant to have no water versus to have water? That's where your experimentation comes in. So when you want to explore water and really study water, then your students are going to walk away being able to tell you quite a lot more information than when you first started the study. When you just do a theme, children are able to walk away. When you just do it like a theme with, all the artsy, whatever, just arts and crafts and stuff, children are able to walk away telling you that they mixed colors and, ice was cold and ice melted. That's very surface level. We have to give our children more credit than what we give them sometimes. At 4 years old, they are totally capable of getting deeper, of going deeper. And so as teachers, my call to you is don't stunt their growth because you think that they're not able to delve further into it. And even furthermore, don't stunt your own growth, right? Don't be afraid to still have to research just because just because you're teaching 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds. What makes you think you don't have to learn new things? Stop recycling your old lesson plans from the year before and the year before that, and instead do something new, because you have new children sitting before you, new children who have new ideas, new children who have new questions, new children who have new inquiries. Go there with them, allow them to take you there, allow them to make you research and learn new things. A good educator never stops learning. Just because you're a teacher does not mean that you have learned all there is to learn. And so that is my spiel for Sunday, for today. Um, I hope that it helped somebody. I hope that it inspired someone. Um, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I am at earlychildhood@sweetpeame.com. Earlychildhood@sweetpeame.com. And I would love to hear from you, and I hope that I can help you. And this is for parents and other early childhood educators. All right? Be inspired.